It has been a long time, but the Evolution Security podcast is back on, sending out hundreds of ones and zeros to send you some great information, important information, fun and entertaining information, if you ask me, bro. Now, it has been almost a year since our last episode. We have been on hiatus for a little while, but here we are back again. How are you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. It is awesome to have you back on the other side of the United States, or I guess in the center. But, it's always awesome hanging out with you on here. And it feels great to be back to recording. The fact is that you and I, when we spoke about putting this show on hiatus, a lot of our listeners know that a big reason was because I was deploying overseas. And it just made more sense. The last time I deployed, we were able to keep the show going, but we weren't doing video back then, right? So just using these cell hockey pucks to get audio recordings, it still worked out. It just wasn't going to be as easy this last deployment. But anyway, when you and I made a decision to put the show on hiatus, I literally got sad. Mm-hmm. It just like, man, this feels really weird and frankly sad to me to stop doing the show, even if it was supposed to be just for a short period of time. But then as I got closer to the end of the deployment, I started thinking, you know what, it might be nice not to have to put forth the effort to do the show when I get back, at least for a little while. And I started thinking maybe I'm not going to do the show until I retire from the day job. But as time got further along, I started missing it greatly. And you've hit on this before, pre-show as well, that the amazing networking and the friends that we have gotten from this venture is just exponentially more than we ever thought it would be. And I started missing that network, man. I started missing the interaction with you and interaction with our guest. And honestly, I know we still, if we can be humble and say we believe that we're putting out important and in many cases life-saving information, mainly because of our guests. But I know we're putting out information that can help people. But your thoughts on that, Aaron? I'll throw it back to you on that.
Well, as we were recounting, so we did this show for roughly 5 years straight before the hiatus. So this would technically be right. This would be the 7th year.
Yep.
Starting right about now in April, I guess. And, the like you said, the mentors and connections and friends we've made through this 6-7 years now, going on 7 years. It's crazy. I had some actually legal questions about how I handled my teaching business vis-a-vis my insurance, and just texted one of our great mentors, and he gave me some great advice, and I was real glad that I contacted him. But that list is really long, and that's a good time to thank all of our mentors that have supported us, and hopefully soon we'll get to talk to you all again.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't help but notice your snazzy shirt you're wearing. Is that the infamous? Yeah,
Mountain Goat.
I'm trying to remember what that's been called in ECQ, or excuse me, in ShivWorks circles. But
well, one thing's for sure, it's a badge of honor to have had that bloody spot on my forehead and to have this T-shirt, because I doubt very seriously these T-shirts will be made again.
I think Craig, if Craig's out there listening, I think Craig really likes to have that exclusive bent to some of those shirts back in the past. My shirt, I don't know how it happened, but my shirt just like that got ripped. Like there's a big
Lame.
hole. I have no clue. I don't remember what it was. Um, but yeah, mine's toast, man. I mean, I guess we're just gonna have to ask Craig if he minds with us printing our own. Just
Print a
kidding.
picture off the internet or
Yeah,
just. But Eric,
kidding. Yeah.
Eric, so this might be a fun time to bring this up. Do you remember it would have been in the fairly early 90s when Ted Nugent had his own podcast? I can't remember, not podcast, it would have been a podcast back then, but a radio show, or he was filling in for Rush Limbaugh or something like that. But he always had a guitar, and he would just sit there and just in the middle of talking politics. And that's a beautiful riff.
Yeah, I remember that. It was awesome. Yeah, Ted
But
Nugent, good old patriot.
yeah, well, so this is one of the fun things from the last several months. So Eric, just we've talked about this, but for our audience that can't see this, I'm showing my custom Tyler Studio SE in psychedelic vomit finish. And
Psychedelic. I didn't remember that it was called that. Yeah, it's a badass guitar, man.
bro, so these guitars are either people hate them or love them, but I can say it like this, bro. This guitar was on my list of guitars that I would get if someone handed me a bunch of cash, because there was no way that I was going to spend what these cost. But dude, it all worked out where I was able to get one. And I mean, this like my other guitars, like my Coles. This is 100% built for me, and it's freaking ridiculous.
I mean, and it's on a classic Stratocaster build, right?
Yeah, it's essentially a very fancy Strat with a FU, and translate that to tradition. But it's essentially a vintage style Strat with a humbucker in the bridge. I mean,
Nice.
check this one out, bro.
Very cool. Look, that sounded like some Saigon kick.
Bro, that's another fun thing. In a week and a half, Becky and I are going down to Clearwater, Florida. If audience members may remember one of our neat shows that was with the lead singer, songwriter, Jason Beeler from the original band Saigon Kick, and then into a solo career that we talked with him about. But there's a Saigon Kick reunion show. It was really cool. Since, of course, I had his phone number from this podcast, I texted him and asked him if he wanted to hook up and hang out a little bit somewhere around the concert, and he told me just to text him when we were heading down. So,
Man, first off, I'm going to say I'm jealous because unfortunately I am going to be in another state doing some training for my new skill set in my job, or else I would be there. I'd be driving my new truck down there. I'm just disappointed, but I'm going to be happy for you because of the amount of influence that Saigon Kick and Jason Beeler has had on our lives, and the cool connection with our good friends, Phyllis and Marla. Just a neat chapter of our lives, and yeah, that's awesome, man. I look forward to hearing about it.
Well, a lot of people only know them for their big hit "Love Is on the Way," but dude, they're just, especially Jason. He's a ridiculous songwriter, singer, and guitar player. All three equal. So
Absolutely.
it's going to be fun. Let me set my guitar down here.
Sure. Well, and while you're setting that up, before we completely segue, I'm going to see if I can have my wife bring up a short little guest here. Hold on a second. Okay. So I wanted to show some changes in our life recently. Let me see if I can get my wife to bring him up. But for our audience members, know the dear love that I have for my 8-year-old, or excuse me, soon to be 8-year-old pug, Brody. He's, we have an empty nest. Our son's a Marine, and he and his family, our grandson and my son's wife, they're currently in Japan, and they're praise God, they're going to be back soon. But we have an empty nest, so our dogs are our kids, and so with Brody getting a little bit older, I just to be honest, I'm gonna need another male pug to get me through that time when Brody's gone, and we just felt it was probably a good time to go ahead and get a puppy while Brody's still fairly young. I will say this: our new puppy Gunner, he can be a little bit of a terror, but that's the way puppies are. Brody, he's which, let me see, he's asleep. Oh, here we go. Let me see if he's here. Hold on a second. Come here, buddy. What you got on your? Okay. I'll just show him for a second, babe. Let me see if I can get him in here. So this is little Gunner here.
Aw, I can't wait to meet him in person.
Yeah. See if I can get some puppy noises. He doesn't have any grunts or he doesn't have the snorting that pugs normally have yet. He's starting to develop it, but yeah, he's a precious little boy. Well, let me hand him back to my wife. Yeah, so he's definitely been an awesome addition to the family, and I'm finding myself certainly falling in love with him too. So that's a pretty neat addition to the family, is that little boy. But yeah, he's been hard though. I will say that much, man. Well, what else is going on? Anything else you want to talk about on a personal note? You've been doing any shooting this week?
Yeah, I hadn't been for a couple of weeks, but I made sure that I would get a lot done this week. I went to my new indoor range, which I started going to about 3 or 4 months ago. I still don't really like indoor ranges, but man, this range is 10 minutes away from my house. I will load up some ammo, and then I'll have all my gear ready, and then go there on my way home from work and, shoot a couple 100, 300 rounds and get a lot done. Of course they limit you, don't want you to draw from a holster, but you know what? You can work on that at home or when I'm at my other range. So yeah, I've been enjoying the heck out of it. I think last time at that indoor range, I was just running doubles and strong hand only and support hand only on those little yellow dots that I learned about from Lee Weems. And then I just did groups on those dots and called it a night. It was great.
And the fact that you can work on draw work at the house, and of course you have other opportunities to do that. I think it's just important that any of our listeners out there that may be limited in those types of ranges, just to make the best of it. And there's still so much you can do, and marksmanship is still king.
Mm-hmm.
Developing that excellent marksmanship is the number one shooting skill. Obviously, the accuracy is final, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is interesting. Back in Washington State, that's what the bulk of my training for the last few years was at an indoor range. But that range, you could get qualified to shoot from the draw from the holster. And so, I mean, I got a lot done there.
I think at some point I can do something where I can draw, but I think it's on limited occasions. And I don't blame them. Just people coming off the street. I used to be not offended by it, but just like, what the heck? Why are you limiting people? But now that I am an instructor, and it really is just a little safer, especially people that may not know how to properly reholster their gun. That's the problem,
Yep,
really,
it is, man.
or the risk anyway.
Yeah, the
So,
reholstering is where the most accidents happen, as it revolves around running from the holster. So yeah, good point.
well,
Yeah,
bro,
go ahead.
I did also go to the outdoor range out at our good friend and my jiu-jitsu coach Matt Reyna out at his place where I usually do my teaching. Went out there the other day with some really old friends and had just an excellent time. Now, but it kind of brought up the opportunity that one of my good friends, he is he basically has always been carrying on the small of his back. And I'm trying to explain to him that that's definitely not ideal. But everybody has their reasons for
Yes.
doing things. So I'm not gonna besmirch him that I mean, there's just so many reasons that a normal guy with a normal build that's carrying a medium sized pistol, man, it's really appendix or hip. There's ankle carry, pocket carry. Not saying I'm leaving that stuff out. I'm talking about the normal size, Glock 19, size pistol, or Glock 48, 43X, etc. I mean, one of my Eric, what would be your? We don't need to go off on this, but because I wasn't necessarily planning on it, but we're talking about range sessions. What would you say are the main reasons that it's not as good of an idea as hip or appendix?
Well, number one is retention.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to retain your pistol at small of back, you're very limited physically on how well you can manage a gun grab. I also think it's probably not good on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on when you're sitting down, and I think it can cause. I'm not a doctor, but I've had a lot of back injuries, and I know I started wearing my wallet in my front pocket for that reason as well. Sitting on a George Costanza wallet for so long, um, and that's why I went to that Ridge line or whatever, the one that my wife got me, that a lot smaller wallet. But anyway, yeah, I think those are the two main reasons, Aaron. I just think, and thirdly, that's not a very efficient presentation from the holster either, right?
Yeah. I think I'm going to meet up with him and show him the pros and cons and take a look at what how he's presenting it. And Eric, here's another concern, right? Would be that you can't see your pistol into the holster.
Very, very good point, man.
And
I think that We can go back to the main reasons, because you're going to be training with a holster more than you're going to be fighting with it. I think that's probably the most important reason, man. You
Yeah,
cannot see your holster when you're reholstering, or anything, any debris, any clothing, any string of some sort, whatever it might be on your clothing, could get in your holster and press off around.
yeah. So I was just thinking about that because of our range session the other day, and thought I'd ask you what you thought. But
Well,
man,
and I think it's neat that you brought up retention, and we started talking about the ShivWorks elbow pin
mhm.
gun retention technique. And it is a very basic technique. I'm not going to talk about it in this setting, but I will say, for instance, you can reach out to Tenacore, their YouTube channel. They just produced a video of Craig showing the elbow pin retention technique. Now, I think it's important to note, just like Craig said, it is not the end of the excuse me, it's not necessarily the solution. It's to buy you time for your other
Mhm.
options.
Mhm.
And just through a lot of force on force and real work of trying to keep that pistol in the holster, the elbow pin just proves to be a superior technique. And I will say this, Aaron, I got involved. I normally don't like to comment online. In many cases, it's just a waste of time. But I couldn't help myself. I saw some individuals commenting on that video about how stupid it was. What if they hit you in the face? And, not considering the fact that the most important thing is not getting your gun taken away from you and shot with your own gun. Of course, you're going to be concerned about getting hit in the face, but not near as much as retaining that pistol. But just some of these individuals, and you look on their profile, they aren't putting out any professional firearms instruction or data, but they can come on there and with such disrespect of, in our opinion, one of our most important mentors, and mentors to thousands and thousands of people, that teaches proven reductionist curriculum. Yeah, I kind of got into an argument back and forth, and after the fact, I'm like, yeah, that was still a waste of time. But it's just amazing what kind of dregs we get coming on the internet that act as though they know better than the people that are really doing the work and developing in the real world these
Dude,
techniques.
we're speaking to the choir or preaching to the choir here, but yeah, I mean, it's entertaining until you just get too pissed off to, every now and then I'll comment, and, it's just amazing. People freaking nuts.
Yeah, yeah,
But
just
yeah, it is a waste of time.
yep. Yeah, but anyway, enough about that. People, internet keyboard warriors will be keyboard warriors. That will never go away. Um, well, bro, speaking of the range, I went to the range this last week, and I ended up working more rifle this time than I did pistol, but I shot some bull groups for a while, and I even had some fun just shooting groups on steel at 50 yards. And, I started going, I need to do that a lot
Are
more.
you talking about with your pistol or your
Yeah.
rifle?
Yeah. I'm sorry, buddy. Clarity. Yeah. With my pistol, shooting still, but still having some accountability. But the thing that I like about shooting the still at 50 is I'm going for 100% accuracy on the steel, but it is a larger piece of steel. Um, but the point is, I also don't want to be everywhere on the steel too. But the beauty of that steel is I can get immediate feedback. 50 yards is a long way to walk back and forth to a target,
Yeah.
So I'm going to start adding that in my shooting a little more. and then I did some close work with the rifle, and I shot between also out all the way to 200, just running some dynamic drills, and I had a lot of fun. I think we spoke on the phone. I've been having a kick on rifle again.
Awesome.
I'm just a I'm very much in the belief that I think it's a great thing to have a nation of riflemen and rifle women out there that are capable with their equipment. And there's millions. I mean, the AR-15 is obviously the most popular rifle now in existence in the United States. And there are a lot of new, wouldn't you agree? There's a lot of new AR owners, even in just the last handful of years.
Oh, I think it's continued to grow for sure.
Yeah, and I just find it apropos that the NRA, have you heard of the new ARC competition?
Bro, you've mentioned it to me, and it's real interesting, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it, and frankly, hopefully getting involved with it. Why don't you key us in on it?
So the ARC stands for America's Rifle Challenge. And bottom line is the focus is ARs, right? There's other semi-automatic rifles can be used, including any rimfire rifle that a person has, which I think that's really good that they're allowing rimfire.
Yeah, it is.
And the main thing is it's a low barrier of entry. All you need is an iron-sighted AR with a barrel no longer than 20 inches, which that's probably easy. Most people aren't much longer than that. Or like a rimfire 22 is, like I just mentioned, 4 magazines, a sling, and an ECI or a empty chamber indicator or chamber flag. That's all you need. You can run reloads from your pockets, which I'm going to do sometimes. I do that in my own training because, man, as a civilian, that might be what I'm doing, throwing mags in my pocket,
Yeah.
you know. And so yeah, that's all you need to get started, and 100 rounds of ammo. I'm actually signed up for the level 1 match. So there's 2 levels of matches. Level 1, which is really just static shooting from 10 yards out to 100, right? So and it's all your standard positions from standing, unsupported, kneeling, seated, and prone. The other thing is that yes, there are some par time constraints, but for folks that might have some physicality limitations, to get into the prone position, for instance, you're given like a minute or something like that. Plenty of time. And then the only thing that counts is shots on the par clock. And so, yeah, it's not dynamic like, say, for instance, 3-gun matches. And you know what that means? It's not going to be as intimidating to people.
Yeah.
It's very, very much marksmanship focused, which I think is great. They even, and I'm going to show here on screen with my low tech slides, so to speak, on my iPad, the targets, but they're innocuous targets. It's like a longer octagon type shape with the bull. I used to poo-poo people that were like, oh, we can't use silhouettes, but I get it now. When you're trying to encourage new shooters that may be a little also intimidating as, why am I shooting at these silhouettes? We believe in shooting at silhouettes, obviously. Humanoid type targets are important in training, to include visual, actual human visual. I mean, that's an important aspect of training, which we won't hit on now. But bottom line is it is just an easy entry rifle competition that basically anybody can just bring just a little bit of gear and get into easily. Now, level 2 is more like 3-gun matches, and you have to be able to qualify. And I can't articulate what level that you have to meet in level 1 to get to level 2. I haven't got that far into the rules. And one of the things, I'll just digress a second, I'm going to put in the show notes the rule book, because not only in the rule book can you read the rules, but there's also links in how to sign up for a competitor ID, and it's free. And then at that point, you can look for matches that are in your area. And lo and behold, there's one about an hour and a half from our house here in North Carolina, and I'm shooting one of the level 1 matches here in a couple weeks.
Sweet.
So,
Now,
but
Eric, so that makes me. So, were you basically finished with that? I want to make sure I'm not interrupting your points.
I'm gonna hit on a few of the stages that are in that level 1, but I'm not gonna belabor
Go ahead
too much of it.
and then I'll ask my question.
So, for instance, I'll just show this right up front. So, in the level 1, can you see this on the screen here, Aaron?
Mm-hmm.
You can see, like I said, it's an innocuous target.
Yeah.
The black is the outer black is 8 inches and the inner is 4. So you're really going for that 4-inch circle, and there's a 12-inch ring on the outside. So it's basically a bull, and in the level 1, each shooter, so they can run multiple shooters on a line. Each shooter has 2 of those targets, right? So yeah, I can go through real quick on, not to sound too get too boring with reading off the stages, but I think they're going to be fun for just to talk through some of them, so folks can understand what they're getting into. And also, the times are conservative, but you're trying to shoot 100%. So string 1, or excuse me, level 1, stage 1. This is in ARC level 1 competitions, which they're supposed to put on. If they're a club that does the ARC matches, they're supposed to put these level 1 on like every other month, or at least several times a year. I don't know. I haven't read in there how often they have to be done. But so this level 1, stage 1, and then string 1 is 1 shot on the left target at 10 yards in 3 seconds. So again, that's decent, a decent amount of time, for guys guys like us that are used to doing dynamic stuff. But again, that makes it to where it's not so intimidating. You're going for that 100% accuracy. String 2 is 1 shot on the right target, same thing, 10 yards, 3 seconds. String 3 is says reset left. Oh, so reset the target, I guess. Left target 10 yards, 2 shots in 4 seconds. And then the next one is the right target, again, 2 yards, 2 shots in 4 seconds. And then the string 5 is what they call sustained fire. And it's right and left at 10 yards, 5 shots on each in 12 seconds. And this is a reload stage neck, which is string 6. Left to right, 10 yards, 2 shots in 8 seconds. I thought it was 2 on each. It's not very descriptive here. No big deal. It explains it in detail. And then you're doing that again a second time, again in 8 seconds. So not real difficult stuff at 10 yards, but notice that it's including weapons handling. And by the way, in the rules, if you're in low ready, so most of this stuff starts in low ready, your safety's on. So that's what I love about this is that you're being forced to handle the gun safely and continue to run all the manipulations. Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, let's just keep rolling.
Yep, we're gonna just we'll get through this. We've been having some technical difficulties. No big deal. We're gonna keep it going. So, all right. So stage 2, string 1 is prone on the left target, 100 yards. You have 45 seconds for 10 shots. And then string 2 is on the right target, 50 yards. Excuse me, I said, so this is sitting. So string 2 is sitting at 50 yards. Again, 10 shots in 45 seconds. String 3, kneeling on the right target, 50 yards. And again, 10 shots. All these are 10 shot strings in 45 seconds. And then lastly is standing on the left target at 25 yards, 10 shots, 45 seconds. And I won't, so let's see, level stage 3, string 1, standing to kneeling, 5 left, 5 right, 25 yards. So that's 10 shots in 15 seconds. You got some advancing from 20 to 15 and 15 to 10. I won't name or enunciate each one of these because I don't want folks glassing over. And lastly, and this is stage 4, there is a barricade, Aaron, and I'm going to show this on the screen here. So you see that kind of step barricade, and there's 6 positions, including a triangle in the center.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so on this stage, Aaron, it's a 12-inch piece of steel. And so you shoot essentially 2 shots in each position. So you'll go from 1 to 5 and then the center triangle, and you'll shoot 2 shots in the center triangle, and then you go backwards. So a total of 12 shots on that steel. And I'm forgetting
What's
what
the
time
range?
is it. It's 100 yards. I'm sorry if I didn't say that. I believe I'm not seeing it on it didn't enunciate the time on this. I believe it was 60 seconds. Oh, excuse me, 90. I see it right here. So you have a max time. You
Cool.
can do it quicker.
Yeah.
But max is 90 seconds. And this is just a modified. I won't go through that. But that's a whole level 1 match.
That sounds fun. You know, it's something that, being an IDPA competitor, I've often just wanted to compete with my AR. I never wanted to do 3-gun. I don't even own a shotgun. Just the 3-gun thing. I mean, it's cool, but it just didn't interest me. Something like IDPA, but with actual ARs, and I'm not talking PCC. I'm talking about 5.56 real 5.56 rounds, and so that gets me excited. Now, by chance, did you see if there were any matches close to me?
I'm sorry, brother. I meant to do that. I did not, but I promise you I'm going to get on here in just a minute. I'm sure there is, but I would have loved to have had that information for you on the recording. But yeah, again, I was saying it before we had a mishap on our technology here. I don't know if that particular statement I was making will make it on the air. So I'll just go ahead and repeat myself. I just think that if you notice, I'd mentioned before that when you're in the low ready, you're on safe, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you start the firing string, you come off safe. You're going through all these loading of the magazines, running the manual of arms in a very controlled environment for new shooters. So you know how competition goes, Aaron, how much you learn just from competing. Even if you're brand spanking new and you've got people that ROs or safety officers that know what they're doing and they're going to keep you safe, how exponentially faster you learn, than trying to do stuff on your own. And
bro, I still believe wholeheartedly that the best way to get good at shooting practical, which means self-defense, is to compete in your local IDPA matches, because you're quickly having to think about everything else other than your shooting. Number one is safety, muzzle awareness, all those things that go into being a safe gun handler in public. There's just so many benefits to it. So to have that for, again, our favorite version of the semi-automatic rifle, the AR-15, yeah, I'm excited about it. Now, with my eyes, even though I've got bionic vision, it's still, my vision is focused, I've figured out, at about 7 yards is the actual focus. Then of course, so the further it goes out, the less clear it gets. So 50 yards I would be just fine unmagnified, 75 probably, but I start shooting 12-inch steel at 100 yards with my Holosun red dot. I may need some help with that, some magnification.
Well, you go ahead. I'm listening. Sorry, buddy.
So I think we've had this conversation that you may be kind of going more towards the 3x magnifier and red dot as opposed to the LPVO setup.
So on my main carbines, I've been running, my main carbine, my shorter carbine, I've been running the 3x, and there's no question that I prefer it over the LPVO. But now that I am starting to consider shooting some of these level 2 matches that go out to 400, I'm probably going to keep the LPVO on one of my rifles. But just to drive home the main point is the new NRA ARC competition, or the America's Rifle Challenge, goodness, competition. I just think I'm really excited about it. And the NRA, I think they've needed some good news for a little while. They've had some difficulties in the last couple of years, but I still support them. I'm still an NRA member. But I'm excited about this for the low barrier of entry. And there's millions and millions of gun owners that have ARs that don't know how to run them. And this is a perfect opportunity to get some people fairly accurate out at, at least 100 yards, and some shooting positions. So I'm excited about it. And then you get better at that and graduate, move on to the level 2, which you can reach out there to, 400 yards, it says in some of those details, and more dynamic, completely on the clock, individual shooting stages, unlike shooting side by side with multiple people in level 1. So yeah, I'm pumped about it. I think it's a great opportunity. Well, there was something else I was going to mention, but I've drawn a blank. I guess it doesn't matter that much right now. So I guess, Aaron, if you want to, man, let's just make this a short one, reintroduction, and tell folks. I think we should clarify on this for at least the time being. I'm going to be doing a lot of the interviews, and then Aaron's going to come on with me, do these types of show, or there might be a certain guest Aaron wants to jump on, but I'm going to be leading most of these. Aaron's got a lot going on. He's got kids in their formative years, and so I'm going to keep this going, and Aaron's going to come on when he can.
Oh, bro, I'm looking forward to being a listener. The other day, since we took a hiatus, I have not been listening to martial arts or shooting oriented shows. And the other day, I listened to the American Warrior show with Rich Brown, and it reminded me how important, if you're spending time in a place that you cannot be practicing, you can't be dry firing, you can't be training. Dude, if you're riding in a car and you've got a great show with high quality information, it continually keeps this stuff in your mind. And I was thinking about things listening to that show that I hadn't thought about in a long time. It reminded me of things, and it also made me, again, think about things that I had never thought about. And I got excited about it because I knew that we were going to kick our show back off. And man, I won't be here all the time, but I am still one of the tactical twins. And I'm excited about this next chapter, and just, thank God that you're setting it
lost
off.
you again, Aaron. No big deal, man. I'm going to just go ahead and close this out. I know where you were headed with that. You are absolutely my other tactical twin. And man, I'm looking forward to this. And it's those mental maps that you can even get a mental cue from just hearing something on a show, on a podcast. That's why we like to remind people and we pointed out, we want to give people a mental cue in whatever subject it might be as it revolves around self-defense. And it just can help somebody. It may even save their life just hearing a specific mental cue. So we're going to keep that up. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Aaron, I'm missing you out there. Lost you again, but that's okay. To our audience out there, we're so glad to be back. We'll see you next time.